Hey guys, what's up? My name is Zach and I'm the West Virginia DIY guy. Today in the shop I'm going to be showing you how I built this mobile clamp rack. If this looks like something you're interested in building, then follow along and I'll show you how I did it. So for this project I figured that I would need 7 2x4s. So I went to the local big box store and purchased my 2x4s, and I wasn't able to start the project that night, so I brought them down and put them in clamps. And most of the time when you buy lumber at a big box store, you walk in and their kiln dried lumber is soaking wet. So by the time you get it home and it starts to dry, it cups and warps and twists and ends up just junk before you get to use it. So I clamp my lumber now and it seems to help a little bit. With this being an A-frame storage rack, I had to do some trigonometry to figure out the angles. And what I came up with was, with the 63-inch length, I need 10-degree angles on each end. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those on the miter saw. Now that I've got my angles cut, I need to cut 8 pieces at 21 inches long. I changed my saw back to 0 degrees now, so I'll be cutting at a 90-degree angle. And I'm going to set up a stop block so that all my 21-inch pieces are exactly the same. Since my last video I posted, I've converted one of my workbenches into a bench dog table, so I'm going to go ahead and set up a stop block using my bench dogs now. Now I've laid flat all of the A-frame pieces and I'm measuring from the long side of the angle, the 10-degree angle. And I'm going to measure down every 15 inches, starting at 3 inches. So it'll be 3 inches, 18 inches, 33 inches, and so on to get to the bottom. There'll be 4 braces across each leg. I'm going to use a framing square to mark all of them now, and then I'll start attaching. So what I'm going to do is drill pocket holes in the end of each of the cross members, and then I'll be able to attach them centered on each of the lines that I made. That'll give plenty of room at the top to attach the clamps, and by installing them flat, laid out like this, that will keep the angle the same on the clamps as, it'll keep the clamps on a 10-degree angle the same as the A-frame. With my pocket holes drilled, I'm going to go ahead and attach the cross members to the A-frame pieces. And again, I'm going to put the cross members just centered on the lines that I made going down through there. And when I'm using my pocket hole jig and pine, I don't use the Craig screws. I just use some 2.5-inch star drive screws, and I've never had any issues with that. I don't know why it wouldn't work. If anybody does, feel free to let me know. But I've had excellent luck with it, and it's cheaper and it works fine in pine. Now that I've got my A-frame kind of set up together there, I've decided that I want my top shelf to be 11 inches across. Right now it's just a little over 7 inches. I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece of plywood to 11 and we'll go from there. Now I'll be drilling pilot holes and attaching the top shelf. Okay, I've got my A-frame put together here. I've got the top attached. That 11-inch piece is attached there, and now that that is attached, I was able to measure both sides at the bottom, and I came up with 32 5/8 for my bottom dimension. So I'm going to cut down this piece of plywood to 32 5/8. Now I have a random piece of plywood scrap that is 15 1/4 inches wide. So I'm going to cut that down to 21 inches long, and then I'll be able to put a shelf in the middle of the rack. So this one will be 15 1/4 by 21 inches. I just grabbed another piece of scrap 2x4 that I had. This one was a cutoff from another project that I did. So it's only, it's like 1 1/4 inches by 1.5 inches. rectangle there. That's plenty for what I'm planning to use it for here. It's 35 inches long, so I'm going to split that in half at 17.5 and use it to support my shelf. With my shelf supports installed, I'm ready to attach the shelf. We're starting to look like something now. We're getting really close. What I've run into though is a small problem, which happens in woodworking, and that is when I bought my screws, bolts to attach these casters, I thought I had bought 1 inch, but they're 1.25 inches. So that was my mistake, and I'm sure I knew it at the time, but I forgot that when I was planning this project. So my plan had been to just stack a piece of plywood underneath the bottom of the base here, and then I would have 1 inch to screw into, and I'd be alright for mounting those casters. Since those are 1/4 inch too long, I've had to change plans a little bit. So I'm going to use some more scrap wood from another 2x4 that I'd cut off here. That's about 1 inch thick. So once I have that inch and the 1/2 inch of the plywood on the bottom, I'll be able to screw up through that and into the legs here, so it should work just fine. So I've just got to add a little bit more bracing. So I'm going to cut my scrap 2x4s over here down to 32 5/8 and then attach to the bottom. So I've got the rack turned on its side here, and I'm going to go ahead and mount the casters. The way that I'm going to do that is I've got a drill bit that is the same size as the shank of my bolts here. Just the shank, not the threads. So I'm going to hold my caster up here where it needs to be. I'll drill my hole, and then I've got a driver in my driver, and I'll be able to put the bolts in that way. Should go pretty quickly. And I'll just repeat that process for the other 3 legs. Alright, casters are on, and this bad boy is done. Ready to load up. I think I want to take a sander to it and just sand it and get it nice and smooth, and I'll be able to really say that it's finished. But I'm really happy with the way this thing turned out. I'm going to load it up with some clamps. Alright guys, she's done. Got her all loaded down, got all the clamps on there, got a few things on the shelves already. Overall, I'm super happy with the way this has turned out. I think the only thing I'll probably end up changing is maybe some of the positions of the cross members. Just the different clamps have different links, and after I play with it a little bit and organize and reorganize, I may need to move a couple of those to make things feel a little better. But for now, these are all the clamps I have. They're fitting on there perfectly, and I'm really happy with it. So I hope that this video has been helpful to you. I told you at the beginning I needed 7 2x4s. I ended up only using 5 2x4s, and then I used some scrap that I had laying around the shop for a couple pieces of the bracing. If you don't have any scrap laying around your shop, just get an extra 2x4, get a 6th 2x4, and then you can do that bracing as you need to. Plywood, I feel confident this is less than a 1/2 sheet of plywood, so you get a 1/2 sheet of plywood and do what you need to do there. The casters I got at Harbor Freight. What are casters at Harbor Freight? Like $3 or $4 a piece. So you could definitely build this whole thing for under $50. I mean, if you went with OSB plywood, 2x4 kiln dried 2x4s, and some Harbor Freight casters, I would say you'd be into this thing for like $45. So I think it's definitely doable. You can definitely have a lot of fun with this. Make it your own. I think this is a good starting point for an idea if you're interested. I hope the video was helpful to you. If it was, please like my video and subscribe to my channel. The channel's really growing, and I'm excited to see where it's headed, so follow along and we'll see where we end up. Alright guys, until next time, take care and God bless.